When classifying a netball shot, we need to first consider the three main aspects of the one-dimensional skill classification. So firstly is that this particular skill is considered more a gross skill than a fine skill, as it uses larger muscle groups in order to be well executed. Secondly, this skill is a discrete skill, meaning it has a distinct beginning and end. And lastly, this skill is more of an open skill, particularly in a game-like situation where the environment is more unpredictable and unstable. Now, when classifying a netball shot in regards to Gentile's taxonomy of skill classification, we need to take into account the two main context characteristics. So, in regards to this skill, the regulatory conditions are in motion, and we need to acknowledge that there is going to be variability due to the environment and the skill involving object manipulation. So as you can see in this example of Gentile's taxonomy, we have placed it in box number 14, just as you can see with the red circle, and this is the equivalent to playing foosball. This is because we believe that this is a skill that is in motion, has a range of variability, and object manipulation is involved as well. So in order to achieve the greatest results in this 4-week training program, breaking down the main aspects of this skill will help us do this. So when performing this skill, feet should be hip width apart. This in turn will increase centre of gravity and balance for the learner. The arms should also be extended directly above the head and not in front, as this helps with getting the ball higher than the ring, which will increase your chances of getting the ball in. Arms should also be flexed from the elbow, and the shoulders should not be dropped at any point during the skill. Both knees should be bent and then extended just before the ball is released to produce power. Your controlling hand should be your dominant hand, and that should be placed under the ball, and your free hand should be placed on the side supporting the ball. And when flicking the ball out of your hands, your middle finger should be the last finger to touch the ball. Any other finger may affect the accuracy or direction of the ball. Decided that for qualitative measures we would focus primarily on technique and all the key aspects of the skill as mentioned previously. In addition to this, we would also take note of whether the skill was practiced indoors or outdoors, or whether the skill was practiced in an open or closed environment and how that impacted performance. For quantitative measures, we agreed on 4 key points, which included the amount of successful shots in a set period of time, the distance from the ring, angle from the ring, and the time taken holding the ball before shooting. Measuring these skills shows us whether the learner is versatile or can handle a changing environment. So to measure the success or failure of this training program, we will be conducting both a pre and post test before the training program begins. Both tests will be identical in regards to the tests taken and the conditions in which they are tested. So a retention test will be performed 4 days after post-testing, and in that 4 days there will be no practice of the skill by the learner. This is just to ensure that they have retained knowledge of the training program in that time, and the retention test will involve similar tests and drills to pre and post training. And a transfer test will also be performed a week after post-testing, and this will consist of a shortened half-court game. This is just to see whether the learner can apply their knowledge to a game-like situation. So initially the beginner is likely to miss majority of shots in the pre-test due to lack of experience, knowledge of technique, or it may have been a while since they last actually performed the skill if they had experience. However, we think they will gradually improve with practice as the program gradually increases with difficulty, and we designed it that way. So we've decided to make the program flexible to the learner so they can choose whether they feel they need 2 or 3 sessions in a week just to boost up their post-test scores. And when predicting the results, we will be considering the ceiling and floor effect to ensure the program is appropriate for the individual's needs. So our learner Alice has had previous experience playing netball, so she'd be able to reuse the skills she has learnt from previous experience in developing her shot on goal performance even further. She would already have a basic understanding of the required skills to be successful and would be more willing to participate through frustration. So skills like a basketball shot could show both positive and negative transfer. So in particular, a basketball jump shot may show negative transfer as getting out of the habit of shooting from in front of the body as opposed to above in netball will require time to change. And in this example, we won't need to implement a dual task strategy, as this skill is a relatively simple movement. If need be, the skill can be deconstructed and taught in individual parts. So in order to make sure Alice is motivated throughout the whole 4 weeks, we've got to make sure that each session is different and interesting whilst also increasing in difficulty so she can build up her skill. So her long-term goals would be retaining the skill and being consistent with that, and her short-term goals would be initially learning the skill itself. So over the next 2 slides will just be a list of training strategies and ideas that we think might work for Alice. Given our group's experience with this skill, we ourselves could act as examples when demonstrating for Alice if she needs us to. However, if we need a more detailed explanation, we could analyse elite athletes performing this skill. Instructions in verbal cues don't need to be given at every shot attempt, as this may overload and overwhelm a cognitive learner and in turn affect their performance. So feedback will be given terminally after the execution of the skill and repeatedly if needed throughout training. Qualitative feedback or the knowledge of performance will be more effective in the teaching of the techniques of this skill, especially to a cognitive learner. And as the learner becomes more competent, our role in feedback would become more directing the learner's intrinsic feedback through questions, allowing them to make their own corrections if need be. There'll be 2 to 3 sessions a week over the 4-week program, and that's up to the learner how many they do. We'll do distributed practice as it doesn't overwork or overload the learner, and we'll progress from blocked to random as the learner improves this skill, so more closed to open. And we'll use part practice in the beginning when breaking down the skill and whole practice at the end of the program.